The MCU is back, and most fans would agree that it's about dang time. The global pandemic ruined a lot of things, including a lot of release dates and production times for a lot of films. But now, with the arrival of Black Widow, things can finally start to return to a sense of normalcy. But while it's good to know what we'll be seeing soon, it's also important to look ahead to what we know we'll see eventually. And that includes the Merc with the mouth in Deadpool. So, allow us to show you Deadpool 3 release, news, and updates. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. R-rated confirmed? One of the reasons that the first two Deadpool movies were so good was that they embraced the R-rated nature of Deadpool from the comics and translated them to the big screen, complete with language, debauchery, and of course, violence galore. When it was found out that Disney bought out Fox and thus got the rights to the X-Men franchise back, a lot of people thought that there would be no chance for Deadpool to return because of their strict PG-13 at most mantra. However, Kevin Feige, head of Marvel Studios, confirmed that the film would indeed be R-rated and that they wouldn't try and interfere with the making of the movie outside of a few necessary guidelines, i.e. not bringing in characters that are already used by them or are going to be used by them soon enough. It will be R-rated, and we are working on a script right now, and Ryan's overseeing a script right now also. It will not be filming this year. Ryan is a very busy, very successful actor. We've got a number of things we've already announced that we now have to make, but it's exciting for it to have begun. Again, a very different type of character in the MCU, and Ryan is a force of nature, which is just awesome to see him bring that character to life. So basically, we're going to get the Deadpool we love without major restrictions, and that's pretty awesome. But as for now, what we can actually expect from the film, that's a bit more up in the air. Deadpool 3 plot. The first Deadpool movie was very much your standard superhero origin story. From how he was before he got cancer, to meeting the love of his life in Vanessa, to leaving her to go and get treated by Weapon X, getting his powers, getting revenge, and you know how it went. Wham! Deadpool 2 dealt with him losing Vanessa in traumatic fashion and trying to save a kid from a terrible fate in regards to his future and being killed by Cable. As for the plot of the third film, there's honestly no real way of knowing just how that's going to go. And it's not because of a lack of Deadpool material or even a lack of creativity. We know Ryan Reynolds and his writing team have that. It's more about what will they be allowed to do. Remember, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios want them to make Deadpool 3 like the previous films in the franchise. But some key characters are no doubt off the table now because apparently Deadpool is now officially in the MCU somehow. So, for example, a lot of people would have wanted Taskmaster, Deadpool's frenemy, to go and do battle with the Merc with the mouth. But that's a problem because he's the main villain in the Black Widow movie, so obviously now that can't happen. Plus, there are a certain group of other characters that might not be allowed as well, but we'll get to them later. Then there's Deadpool himself. At the end of Deadpool 2, there was a lot of shenanigans going on, and it's hard to know what was really canon and what was, well, Deadpool. However, there is one character that is very likely to return: Cable. People were surprised when Josh Brolin got cast for the part of Cable, as he was also playing Thanos in the MCU. But he came in and crushed the role in his own way. That being said, at the end of Deadpool 2, he gave up his time machine to go and save Deadpool from a true death, and thus he's now stuck in the present, and stuck with Deadpool. Funnily enough, Josh Brolin admits that while he liked the role of Cable, he didn't feel as though he gave it his all, and thus was looking forward to another movie to go and expand what he could do with the character. So, with a third movie confirmed and his Thanos duties all tied up at present, it's fair that Brolin will be able to focus on Cable once again and give the performance that he's really wanting. Plus, since we're now in the MCU, and the MCU owns a certain other supergroup, again, he could be used to bring in the X-Men. If it is to be believed that Deadpool is in the MCU, then that means the X-Men are already there because of the fact that Deadpool has interacted with them in the first two movies, including going to the X-Mansion, teaming up with Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Kamiko, and so on. However, the MCU has gone out of its way to get rid of mutants. See Wanda and Pietro's origin, and hasn't even referenced their possibility, meaning now children of the Atom have been found. So thus, we have a small problem. Cable is an easy allowance as he's from the future, and we know time travel is possible in the MCU, and thus having him be in the past with Wade is not a bad thing at all. Plus, you could have it to where the X-Men have been hiding all this time for one reason or another, and thus we're just under the radar. There is no doubt something that Kevin Feige and the MCU team are overseeing because they can't play this the wrong way, else fans will rip them for it. But if it can be allowed, it will be. Vanessa. Vanessa is a very important person in Deadpool's life. Not as much as in the comics per se, but in the movies definitely. Wade fought for her in the first film, and he almost lost it again when she died. But at the end of the second film, he reversed time and apparently saved her. So, yeah, she's alive now? It's hard to say, but it's fair to guess that with all the flux going on around, with who can and won't be allowed in, she will be able to return for a bigger role in round 3. Plus, she herself is a mutant, and perhaps with all the craziness and shenanigans that can go on with this film, she might become copycat like she did in the comics. Or they can stick to the movie lore and have Vanessa be pregnant with their child, per Deadpool 2, and even have had the child in the time between movies, and things can go from there. There's a lot of ways this can go. Production. When? So, this is the big question, and not one that anyone can answer outside of Marvel. That's because right now production times and statuses are a bit up in the air regarding certain Marvel properties. Many films that were scheduled to release this year were obviously pushed back to next year and beyond. And that goes for both the MCU films and the TV shows on Disney+. What's more, with all the production delays, it has hurt certain future projects, like with Blade, Fantastic Four, and more. So, where does Deadpool fit into all this? That's a good question. Because while he is confirmed for the MCU, no release date was given for him. Plus, he hasn't been teased in any promotional lineup videos for the MCU, like the one that was released to welcome people back to theaters. At best, it might start production next year. At worst, it could be longer. We'll just have to wait and see. Wolverine. It's a well-known fact that Ryan Reynolds has been trying to get Wolverine into his films since the terrible Wolverine Origins thing happened. And Deadpool 3 was supposed to be Logan and Wade teaming up on a road trip, but obviously that got cancelled. However, there is still hope. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have been feuding on the internet for a long time now, and that could mean that by the time Deadpool 3 goes to film, Reynolds could have convinced Jackman to come back for one final appearance. And Hugh Jackman recently posted a picture of him with Kevin Feige. Why? We don't know, but it's exciting for sure. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at the third Deadpool movie, and what it is likely to be like, and when it's likely to release? Are you hoping that Marvel starts to unveil more about this project sooner rather than later? Do you think that with the backing of Marvel, this could be an even grander version of Deadpool than we got before? What do you personally want to see in the third Deadpool film? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.